حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. على الأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات السورة المباركة الفاتحة.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اے کربلا حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا. اے کربلا حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا. ورنہ تجھے بھی سارا بلا دے گا زمانہ. اے کربلا حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا. ان ریت کے اڑتے ہوئے ذرات سے کہنا کربلا حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا. خیمے سے ننگے پاؤں چلی کس طرح زینب. ابا یہ بات علمدار کو ہرگز نہ بتانا. اے کربلا حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا. تجھ کو کیا ہے کرب و بلا کس نے معلا. یہ خون ہے رسول کا اس کو نہ چھپانا. اے کربلا حسین نہ بلانا. اے چاند ستاروں علی اکبر کی شہادت، صغرا کو نہ رسول کے، صغرا کو نہ رسول کے روضے پہ سنانا اے کربلا۔ بالوں سے رخ چھپائے ہوئے جاتی ہے زینب، اے تیز ہوا ان کو نہ، اے تیز ہوا ان کو نہ چہرے سے ہٹانا اے کربلا، کہ غم کو نہ بلانا۔ نہر فرات کی یہ تڑپتی ہوئے موجیں، عباس علمدار کو، عباس علمدار کو صورت نہ دکھانا اے کربلا، حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا۔ پیاسا ہے 3 روز کا ننھا علی اصغر، پانی کے وز تیر سے، پانی کے وز تیر سے اس کو نہ سلانا اے کربلا، حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا، ورنہ تجھے بھی سارا، ورنہ تجھے بھی سارا بلا دے گا زمانہ اے کربلا، حسین کے غم کو نہ بلانا۔ محمد آل محمد صلوات۔
of 5th Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And for the hastening of the reappearance of our 12th Imam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المعصومين المظلومين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين. ما خاب من تمسك بكم، هو أمن من لجأ إليكم سادتي. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Why have the worlds lowered their flags, and with the color of grief have the days turned dark? Today from Baqir ilmi Ali Muhammadin, its tyrants quench their thirst for revenge. Always in his life did our Imam suffer. When the world's cruel people dominated its noble ones, they led him through envy to extinguish his light. Allahu Akbar, how many a sanctity did Hisham violate. Allahu Akbar, he passed days in Hisham's prison. Hey, and he was made to stand before the tyrants. Hey, and he was given a saddle with lethal poison. Hey, and it was the death of our Imam. And he fell on his bed of illness. With difficulty was our Imam drawing his breath. Al-Baqir stopped breathing and closed his eyes. Al-Madinah grieved like one person. All preachers of the world grieved for his loss, and the worlds with grief lowered their flags. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. لقد ورد عن أئمتنا المعصومين صلى الله عليهم جميعا أنهم قالوا: أولنا محمد وأوسطنا محمد وآخرنا محمد كلنا محمد. صلوات. First of all, I would like to extend my most heartfelt condolences to our 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. On the passing and the Shahadat of his grandfather, our 5th Imam, Al-Baqir, Salamullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala. when we talk about the seerah of our Imams alayhim salam, there is a really important question that comes to one's mind. Normally the approach that is taken to understand the events that happen in the lives of our Imams is a really short, is an approach that has a lot of shortcomings. It is very short-sighted. Why is that? It is because of the fact that most of the people who talk about these events talk about them not in a chain of actions or a chain of events that take place. And they also look at the strategies that each and every one of the Imam has taken. They try to understand them separately. But however, this approach to understanding the seerah of our Imams is really narrow-sighted. Today, Ayatollah Khamenei, he has written a book in which he has titled it about the seerah of our Imams. He has named it the 250-year-old human being. That is to say, all of our Imams alayhim salam, just like I explained in this narration that the Imams say that the first one of us is Muhammad, and the middle of one is Muhammad, the last of one of us is Muhammad, and all of us are Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. All of our Imams, they complement each other in whatever strategy and tactics they have taken in their particular period. All of them have one message, all of them have one way of thinking, they have one mentality, but their different plans of actions, these are related to the different circumstances during the time of each and every one of the Imams alayhim salam. Sometimes I have heard some scholars as well, they tell us that sabr, for instance, sabr is alawi, or for example that the approach of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam today is the right approach for Shias of the entire world. Of course, this is really narrow-sighted. Anyway, if we go back just a little bit, we can start from the time of our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Prophet, he started Islam by basing the foundations, planting the foundations of this ummah, as I will come to explain during the course of my lecture. After that, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, his approach can be considered as one of bravery. Whenever we talk about shuja', when we talk about courage and bravery, you always remember the sword of Dhul Fiqar of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi. When we talk about wisdom, we come to talk about our second Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, who out of his wisdom, he preserved and safeguarded the blood of all of the Muslims when he conducted that truce with Muawiyah. When we talk about the Husayni uprising, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he stood on the plains of Ashura. In the end, nobody except himself, standing with the truth, whatever the consequences may be. Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam, with his zuhud, with his ibadah. As-Sadiqain alayhim as-salam, Imam al-Baqir and Imam as-Sadiq alayhim as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Theirs is an example of ilm, and this continues with the rest of our Imams. At that, we can ask a few questions that we can try to answer today in this lecture. Firstly, did the Imams alayhim salam have one way of thinking and mentality? Secondly, what was the strategy that was used by the Imams before Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam? Fourthly, what was the situation of the entire Muslim Ummah during the time of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam? Fifthly, what strategy did Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam have for the short term and the long term? Salawat Quran. Firstly, let us remember our Imam alayhi salam was just giving a short introduction to him. Our Imam alayhi salam, he is the fifth Imam, born in the year 557 AH in Medina al-Munawwara, according to some narrations in the first of Rajab. Other narrations said that he was born on the third of Safar. He was martyred in 114 AH. On the 7th of Dhul Hijjah, he passed away. He is buried in Baqir al-Gharqad, as his old name was, or Jannat al-Baqiyah after Islam, as it was said, as it was called. alongside at that point his maternal grandfather Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam and his father Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Imam alayhi salam was a pure Hashimi from both of his sides, because his father was Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam and his mother was Fatima bint al-Hasan alayhi salam. Our Imam, during his time, there was a really important development, which is the fact that after the uprising of Karbala and after Yazid was exposed, there were two branches of the Umayyad clan. The first one that had taken rule, of course, was the Sufyani branch. This branch fell, it was exposed after what happened in Karbala and the other revolts or revolutions that happened. Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, al-Tawabin, etc., etc. At that, another branch came into power, which was the Marwani branch. The Marwani branch was still not really experienced in ruling. It did not have the same experience like Muawiyah, for example, did. So what happened is that in the beginning, after they took power, after Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam was martyred and Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam became the caliph, what happened is that there were feuds and conflicts of interest, and there were fights between brothers. Khalifa shu, na tu khalifa tais, na taro chokro mara pasi khalifa tas. So these were the conflicts that were happening. So they started, the caliphs of the age of our Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam were Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik, Sulaiman bin Abdul Malik, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was a lover of Ahl al-Bayt, who was really good to Ahl al-Bayt, Yazid bin Abdul Malik, and finally Hisham bin Abdul Malik, under whose caliphate our fifth Imam alayhi salam was martyred. So at that, Imam al-Baqir, he was an Imam for 18 years. His Imamat was for 18 years. How many children did Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam have? According to some narrations, he had 7 children. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Abdullah, Ibrahim, Ubaidullah, Ali, and 2 daughters, Zainab and Salama. Our Imam alayhi salam, of course, as it is known in Ilm al-Aqa'id, Imam or a prophet, they should have miracles in order to prove the fact that they truly are an Imam. They should have control over this existence, of this creation. Wilayat takwiniyah. At that, there are actually many miracles that have been narrated, that have been performed by our Imams alayhi salam. Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, one miracle that I will mention is that once one of the elite Sahaba and companions of our Imam alayhi salam, by the name of Abu Basir. Abu Basir, he was called, this was actually a nickname of his, Abu Basir, the one who sees, because he was actually blind. So it was just like a nickname out of adab, out of etiquette for him, Abu Basir. Abu Basir comes to our Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam and he asks him, Ya Imam, was Rasulullah not the inheritor of all the prophets that came before him? He says, yes. And you Imams, are you not the inheritors of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? He said, yes, of course. Then can you do whatever the other prophets did? Yes. Are you able to bring back the dead person, and are you able to cure the leper and al-akma? Al-akma is actually different to al-a'ma in the Arabic language. In the Holy Quran, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, his miracle was that he used to cure al-akma. Al-akma is a person who is born blind. Al-a'ma is a person who may become blind due to some sickness, diabetes or whatever. So he could cure people who are even born blind, sometimes maybe without a proper eye. So Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam is asked, can you cure al-akma? He says, yes. Then he tells him, come next to him, come here anyway. He does so the Imam alayhi salam wipes his eyes. All of a sudden he's able to see everything. He's able to see the sky, he's able to see the ground, he's able to see everything which is in the house. At that, the Imam asks him, Ya Abu Basir, do you want to remain as such and then you will have the same hisab and accountability like everybody else on the day of Qiyamah? Or would you like me to return you to your previous state and you will be granted Jannah, guaranteed? He said, no, please return me to my previous state. At that, the Imam alayhi salam wipes his eyes again, and he returns to his previous state. This is a miracle of our Imam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. If we want to talk about strategy, let us look at first of all the situation. Now, during the time of the Holy Prophet, I said that I would shed a little bit more light. What happened is that the Holy Prophet, the situation of his time was extremely difficult. He was trying to base and found and put in the foundations of Islam, and to teach the Muslims the identity of what a Muslim should be, and to teach them ahkam, aqaid, fiqh. And at the same time, you had the problems and the battles that were happening. First of all, the conflicts of the Quraysh with the Muslims, the battles that were taking place. Then after that, you had the munafiqeen as well, who were also causing troubles. Then you had other people, the Jews of Khaybar and others, all of them plotting against Islam. After that, our Holy Prophet even sent out, because he is sent rahmatan lil alameen, but he sent as a mercy but to the entire worlds, to all countries, global. He was a global prophet, unlike other prophets. So he sent out messages and letters to many people, to many kings, the king of Egypt, Rome, Heracles and others. So all of this happened during those 23 years, and he also has to send them Quran. So the problem was that during the time of the Holy Prophet, not everyone's aqaid was firmly planted. As a result, you would find that there were certain people who still did not understand the rank of the Holy Prophet, for whom the entire world was created. They would not understand. So when the Holy Prophet ﷺ says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he says, bring me a pen and paper to write down something for you. They say, no, the book of Allah is sufficient for us. Who in the world told you? This is your own opinions. As a result, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he inherited this ummah in this way. And the Holy Prophet told him that it is natural, because of the fact that many of these people have just become Muslims. They do not truly understand what imamat is. So you will have to bear patience for these fruits to later on ripen. Imam Ali alayhi salam sat at home for over 25 years. During this time, the ummah kept on continuing in its path on deviation. Certain khulafas told them, no, burn all the ahadith. Imagine how many ahadith we lost. They were written down. Burn them all. Why? So that they cannot be confused with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, it is also forbidden to narrate from the Holy Prophet, again because of the same problem, because of the same justification that they had. Imam alayhi salam was bearing patience, and whenever there was need for him, he would quickly go there, to the extent that the second caliph says, more than, according to some narrations, more than 70 times, that lawla Ali lahalaka Umar, that if it was not for Ali, Umar would have perished. How many times? When the ummah in the end, it truly understood that we have been making mistakes, that we have truly distanced ourselves from the path of the Rasulullah, who said that everybody is equal, whereas in the caliphate of the third caliph, you had that everyone was given something from Baytul Mal, but according to their tribes. If you are from Ansar, you will get a certain portion. If you are not Qarashi, you will get another portion. And those who are not Arabs would get even less, and some others would even get nothing. At that, the Ummah revolted. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was there in order to answer their call. Those 4 years and few months of the Khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam started. But how did they start? He had to first of all change his capital from Medina to go to Kufa. In Kufa over there, people had been used to that system, that injustice system. They were used to it. All of a sudden comes the justice of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The justice of Amir al-Mu'mineen was extremely heavy for them. So you found that 3 different factions of people, they separated, separatist movements. You had Muawiyah in Sham, you had certain people that I don't want to mention their names from Medina, others in Nahrawan, Al-Qasitun wal-Mariqun wal-Nakithun. The battles of Jamal, the battles of Siffin and Nahrawan, all of this taking time from Amir al-Mu'mineen. Still there is no possibility to bring the Ummah on its right path. It needs time. This is something gradual. It is psychological. It is something natural. Something like this takes time. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is martyred. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam comes and he wants to continue. But all of a sudden again that deviation takes control. People don't have that courage. They are bribed. Imam al-Hasan is forsaken. So what is he forced to do? To agree to that truce. I'm giving you a really short and really extremely quick background so that I can get to the main point in my topic. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam returns. He returns to Medina, tries to work on the people. Among the articles of the truce was the fact that Muawiyah does not have the right to appoint any person after him, but he does so. When does he do so? After Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam was martyred, again assassinated by Muawiyah. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam comes. Muawiyah is still alive, so he respects the truce between Imam al-Hasan and him and Muawiyah. So he does not uprise. But when Yazid comes into power, this is when the Imam started to use that moral credit that he had among the hearts, in the hearts of the Muslims. Which moral credit? The moral credit that these people used to see that these two Hasanan were the two flowers of Rasulullah, about whom Rasulullah said that these two are Imams, whether they uprise or whether they sit down and they have truce or they do peace. Correct? These two understand, these two are among the Sahaba, among the narrators, among the beloved ones of Rasulullah. So we should aid them. So what does Imam do? He writes to those people. He writes to the Kufis and to others, come to my aid. What do? They forsake him. Why? Because they do not have the proper aqaidi basis and foundation. They do not understand isma. They do not understand what wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam truly means. Imamat is not complete in their understanding. Even though according to the books of history, they were, whenever something, a Kufi narrator would be mentioned in the books of Ilm al-Rijal, they used to say, Kana yatashayya, that he was a Shi'i. But a Shi'i has a different meaning on the aqaid level. What they used to mean is that this fulan person had mawadda or love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. But love itself is not enough. What did that poet tell Imam Hussein alayhi salam? He told him, their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. What kind of love is this? At that, Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, after what happened in Karbala, their strategy changed. None of the Imams after our third Imam uprose with a sword. None of them. Nobody. They took a different strategy. What was that? I will come to mention in detail, of course, but they said that the main thing that we have to do is now, instead of relying on the entire ummah and its understanding, we now have to prepare a base, a foundation, a group of people who are loyal to us, who will sacrifice themselves for us, who are ready and who understand what we are, who obey us and have the true understanding of Islam. This is when Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam started to work slowly on me and you. We today are the fruits which started from Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Upon that, Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, for a huge period of time, he worked on two fronts. The first was the ummah itself, and the second was trying to build a group of people who love Ahlul Bayt and who can be considered as Shias. One phenomenon that was extremely apparent during the time of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, and he may be the most well-known Imam for this, is that he freed a lot of slaves. What would he do? Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam would buy a slave. He would keep him in his house for 1 year. During this year, he would live with the Imam. Look at the akhlaq of the Imam. Start to love Imam. Start to learn the deen of the Imam. Become a Muslim. Become a muwali. When the Imam would see that this person is ready, he would free him, but he would give him capital, so that he would not need to extend his hand to anyone. He would suffice. All of these people, there were at least 4,000, according to some narrations, 4,000 slaves freed by Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam. These are lovers of Ahlul Bayt now. They started when he returned from Karbala. Only 20 people who were truly ready to sacrifice themselves for Ahlul Bayt. At the end of the Imamat of Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam, there was a huge group of muwalis ready for that. Imam as-Sajjad, during his time, he did not have the freedom of mobilization and of movement to propagate the message of the Sharia properly or freely to the extent that is necessary, except to a certain few. At that point, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, our fifth Imam, he inherited this heritage. These people, they were his amana now. So now he started to build and to work. Before that, let us mention shortly how the situation was during the time of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. But first, the salawat. As I mentioned, during this time, the Marwani branch of the Umayyad clan had taken control. They were in a feuds between them. The Islamic State had expanded to a really, really huge border. A really, really huge, massive piece of land it had become. Now these people, they needed ways to keep power and to occupy us, normal people. How do they occupy us? They sow seeds of disunity, of deviation, of those things which would blind us from the bigger picture, from the fact that they are stealing from me and you, and they have even stolen power from those people to whom it truly belongs to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. These forms of deviation from the path of Islam that they created are as such. Number one, aqaidi deviation. During this time, they gave freedom and they would encourage people who have certain ways of thinking, who have misunderstood Islam, or who are not even Muslims, but to bring their thoughts among the masses of Muslims. So first of all, you had those people who are mughaleen, people who believe ma'adallah, that our Imams alayhim salam are ma'adallah, Allah. So this is number one. You had people who believed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resembles His creation. We have hands in the Holy Quran. He says, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim, for example, that the hand of Allah is above their hands. That means Allah has a hand as well. To literally do tafsir of the ayat of Quran literally, just like it is. Not that this may be a metaphor. Thirdly, you had al-mujassima, who used to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ma'adallah, He has a body again, and He has a place, and He has movement, etc., etc. I mean, really, really strange narrations that you can find in some books as well of our dear brothers. People now brought the thought of tanasukh, that is to say reincarnation. Today there are certain groups of Muslims that unfortunately believe in this thought, and they have their own understanding for the verses that talk about death and al-barzakh. Atheism, and this is something we can find today as well. At that time, atheism was related to tawheed in al-khaliqiyya, that is to say, is there truly a creator? Is there truly Allah who has created everything, or has everything come from chance? Today's atheism is a little bit different. It's related to ar-rububiyyah, the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They may say, okay, a deity or a supreme being may have created this entire world, but Does it have control over everything? I don't seem to find that, because of the fact that I have discovered the entire system of how this entire world works. So he does not have control, ma'adallah, over this world. I can make chemical reactions happen and that's it. He can't do anything. If my hand were to be cut and I were to pray from here till tomorrow, oh Allah, return my hand to me, would He return it to me? No, He wouldn't. So that means that He does not have control over this world. Ma'adallah. This is the thinking that you can find today. And the fabricating of ahadith. Others were trying to isolate Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam from their position, from their moral position. At that, they were trying to bring the Sahaba as a substitute. And we can still find this today. Politically, they had turned Khilafah from Khilafah to monarchy. So it is a kingdom. Even though in the beginning they continued to use this name, Khalifa, but it was actually a kingdom. So I inherited to my children. It's not that from me it will go to someone else who has those qualities. No. During this time, a new theory, which can still be found today, it came into existence. The fact that you give al-ahad, allegiance, to more than one person after you. Today's terminology for this in monarchy, you have a crown prince, correct? And then you also today have a deputy crown prince, correct or not? This started during their time. This started during the time of Sulaiman, who gave bay'ah to two people at that point after him. Now, what would happen is that when one brother would die and the second would come, he would occupy himself with removing all of the governors of the brother before him. He wants people who are loyal to him. So these internal feuds, and at the same time as well to ruthlessly destroy all opposition, to wipe them out, to spill their blood. Unfortunately, some of the ulama al-bilad, the ulama of their palaces, they would justify it for them or even give them fatwa according to their own whims. Some of their fuqaha would tell them there is no accountability, no hisab for khulafa. You can do whatever you want. Among these khulafa, one person was extremely notable, Umar bin Abdul Aziz. This person had love for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So firstly, he stopped the practice of cursing Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah. Secondly, he returned fadak back to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Thirdly, he returned a lot of their madhalim, those things which had been taken by force from Ahlul Bayt. Upon that, our Imam alayhi salam, he even praised him. But because of the fact that he was doing, it was really dangerous for those Marwanis. He did not rule for a very long time. 2 years and a few months, and he was wiped out. Finally, in this section, political, Hisham bin Abdul Malik. Hisham bin Abdul Malik was known to be a person who was ruthless, was extremely arrogant. You would speak with him, you would see his arrogance flowing from his face. And the hatred for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. To one point when he saw how the effect of the Imam alayhi salam is on the people, on all Muslims when he would go to Hajj, it had reached to such a stage, the actions and the amal of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, to the extent that when the season of Hajj would come and they would be performing tawaf, Hisham would come and he would try to touch Al-Hajr al-Aswad to kiss it. But there would be so much of a rush that he would just not be able to. His entourage, his guards would not be able to make way for him. But all of a sudden, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam would come and you would find the entire masses making way for our Imam to come and kiss Al-Hajr al-Aswad. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. At that, he took the decision to imprison him in Sham. He brought him over there for a certain period. Our Imam alayhi salam started to affect the prison guards. After that, he brought the Imam to have a discourse, a dialogue with one of the Christian priests over there. The Imam defeated him. At that, Hisham started to fear for his capital, for his basis, he told him, go away, go back to Medina. Akhlaqi deviation and social deviation. During this time, what these people were doing is that they wanted the Muslims to occupy themselves with what? With conquests. Go to different places. The Khazari boundaries, the Khazari borders. Go to other places near Persia, etc., further in eastern Persia. All of these different areas. Why? Because what happened is that these people, these Muslims, they will slowly start to have more bounties, more slaves. And these slaves, they would come from different cultures and civilizations. They would bring their thoughts, they would bring their practices, singing. These khulafa even used to have singing competitions in their own castles and palaces. They would pay for them from the treasury. The treasury had become their own bank account, their own personal bank accounts. Bribery, etc. Now, how did the Imam alayhi salam face the situation? Imam alayhi salam worked on two fronts. Number one, he worked on the Ummah as a whole, because he is the Imam of the Ummah, not only of the Shia, correct or not? So Imam alayhi salam, firstly he started with the Muslims as well, on a general scale. He worked on a general aqaidi reform. The Imam alayhi salam would expose the ghulat, who of course not part of the Shias. He would expose other factions, and he would also have debates with them, with the heads, not with the normal people. But he would have debates with the heads, because if you defeat the head, that base will fall by itself, like a domino effect. So the Imam, extremely wise. He would have debates with these people and defeat them against everyone. Secondly, the Imam would call upon all Muslims to take Islam and to learn it from its pure source, from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. From them the narrations have to be taken. Those people who were doing qiyas, the Imam would expose them, and he would also have discourses and debates with them and defeat them. That qiyas is batil, analogy. It is incorrect. It cannot be a part of Islamic fiqh. The Imam as well started to spread a lot of Nabawi ahadith. Now over here I would just like to explain. Our Imam alayhi salam, he used to narrate his ahadith with the golden chain. Once he tells the Muslimin that when I narrate a hadith and I do not mention its chains, it is because of the fact that I narrated from my father, from Hussein al-Shaheed, from Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, from Rasulullah, from Jibreel, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Today in Iran, in Majma' al-Taqrib, that is to say the special institution that works for Islamic unity, they have come to gather and to make an encyclopedia of those narrations which are considered true and correct and reliable by all Muslim madhahib, and they are making them available as a way to start and truly work on Islamic unity. From our end, they especially narrate a lot of the hadith from Imamain as-Sadiqain alayhim salam. Our Imam alayhi salam, on the special front now. On the special front, if you want to build a huge group of following, you need people to help you. Correct or not? You need people to help you. Can one person run this entire community by itself? No. Correct? So then you need someone, you need a group of people. Correct? You need a group of people. Our Imam alayhi salam then started to work on the cadre. He started to work on those people, the elite of the Shias who would help him. At that, our Imam alayhi salam, he started to train fuqaha, mufassirun, ulama hadith, ulama kalam, etc. Upon that you have so many who graduated from the school of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, like Zurara, Ma'ruf bin Kharrabuth, Abu Basir, Muhammad bin Muslim, and others. Some of these people are called Ashab al-Ijma'. Those people are concerning whom all of the Shia ulama of Rijal say that these people are reliable. Whatever hadith that they narrate, this is 100% correct. This is the Imam. So this is how we start. Okay, let us learn this lesson from our Imam alayhi salam. Today, if we want to build and to run an effective program, to have a properly functioning community center, what can we do? What can we learn from our Imam alayhi salam? We need professionals from all different specializations. We would need doctors, engineers on the general level, doctors, engineers, ulama of different ulama, tullab alim, who have studied different specializations, tafsir, fiqh, etc., etc. We also need social scientists and strategists, correct or not? But let's say, for instance, our community has a certain policy. Baraba? Okay. Then how are you able to discern that this policy over a period of let's say 2 or 3 years, it has been successful? You need to have people who can carry out statistics, carry out case studies. Correct or not? This is strategic studies. So we need this as well in a community center. Those youth who want to tomorrow serve in the community at different positions can have different courses to make their work and their attempts to be even more fruitful. How? We can have different courses for them. Administrational, time management, conflict management, certain principles of course, psychology, etc., etc., mentoring courses, certain Islamic summarized courses as well, so that these people will also have the tools that are necessary to aid them tomorrow in their work. But our Imam alayhi salam, he did not only focus on the elite, now on me and you. Our Imam alayhi salam, he saw that during this time, because of the fact that the Marwanis had taken full control of everything, they were relaxed. They were sleeping with their carnal desires. So the Imam said that this is the opportunity that I have in order to train and to make proper Shias. So our Imam alayhi salam, he froze all political conflict with the Umayyads. He stopped it. His brother Zayd bin Ali alayhi salam, al-Shaheed, he wanted to uprise. So Imam told him, wait, this is not the time. But at the same time, he also told people that if you want to uprise tomorrow, go with Zayd. You have to help Zayd. But he did not allow him to uprise during his time, because this was more important to properly build Shias as well. This efforts of the Imam continued. Of course, the basis of what the Imam considered as Shias, this is another lecture in itself. We don't have time for this. The result, after approximately 20 years of the Imamat of the Imam, approximately 18 years, but at the end of the Imamat of our Imam alayhi salam, in the beginning of the reign of Hisham bin Abdul Malik, there were a huge number of Shias in the entire world. During Hajj, people would flock to the Imam to ask for fatwa from all the farthest reaches of the Islamic state, Islamic Khilafah. They would come to our Imam alayhi salam. Like I mentioned, Hisham could not even touch Al-Hajar Al-Aswad. Once he was asked, who is this person? So he would tell them, هذا من افتتن به أهل العراق. This is the person with whom the people of Iraq have been enchanted. Look at jadoo kari nahi kuch. Who is this person? This is Imam Ahl al-Iraq or Nabi Ahl al-Iraq. Sometimes he would tell them that this is the Prophet of Ahl al-Iraq. He knows everything. He knows tafsir, fiqh. Go and ask him a question and see if he does not know the answer to it. Hisham is telling them. This tyrant is telling them. At that point as well, our Imam, we will stop with this final point that our Imam alayhi salam, he mentions. What is a Shia? What can we learn from our Imam alayhi salam? A Shia, according to our Imam, or those who follow Amir al-Mu'mineen, those who follow Ali, who give and spend for each other due to our wilayah, and who love each other due to our mawaddah, who help and keep the religion alive. Can we go and pray every single day? We go to our jobs. What have you done for Islam? What have you done? You have to do something in your own way, but you have to do something. They do not oppress. If they become angry, they do not oppress, and if they are satisfied, they do not do israf. They are a blessing to those who are near them, and our Shias are those who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Finally, there was one really important point that our Imams focused when building the identity of a Shia from that time is that Shias are those who wait for the dhuhr. From Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, are those who wait for the dhuhr, are those who pave their way for dhuhr. Upon that spirit of waiting for change and wanting to fight under the banner and strive under the banner of our 12th Imam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. This spirit was alive from that time. Our Imams were planning. I ask you just this one question as a food for thought. We as Shias, as officials and non-officials, as normal people, in the same way that the Jews planned for many years for their Israel, have we practically planned for the reappearance of our 12th Imam? Have we practically planned? Have we come together to see what are the factors preventing his reappearance? Have we started to work on them one by one, or are days passing generation after generation? This is food for thought. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, in those final years of his life, he tells Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam that, "Oh my son, only 5 years of my lives are remaining." Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam in adikra Imam al-Sadiq ne કહે છે કે એ મારા બેટા મારી જિંદગીના ખાલી 5 વર્ષ બાકી રહ્યા છે. તો ઇમામ al-Sadiq alayhi salam કહે છે કે જ્યારે હું આ વર્ષો ગણતો તો હું જોયો કે ખરેખર ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam મને ખરેખર સાચો હિસાબ આપ્યા હતા. 5 વર્ષ ના થયા એ મારા બાબા શહીદ થઈ ગયા. ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam ની મુસીબતો બહુ ઘણી બધી હતી. એની જિંદગીમાં બહુ ઘણી બધી મુસીબતો જોયા હતા. લકીને તમે પૂછા કરું છું કયો બચ્ચો 4 વર્ષનો જ્યારે ઉંમરનો હોય તો કરબલાની મુસીબત જોઈ? કયો બચ્ચો હોય છે? કયા બચ્ચા પાસે એ તાકાત છે કે એ સબર કરી શકે? ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam કહે છે કે હું ત્યાં હતો કે જ્યારે મારા દાદા ઇમામ હુસૈન alayhi salam ને કતલ કર્યા. હું 4 વર્ષનો હતો અને મને એનું મક્તલ યાદ છે અને એના પછી આપણે શું થયું મને એ પણ યાદ છે. ઇમામ alayhi salam ની જબાને હાલ છે કહે છે કે હું મારા દાદાને કરબલામાં જોયો. સર વગરની લાશ હતી કે જેને શમશીરો ટુકડો ટુકડો કરી નાખી હતી. એને પ્યાસા દબા કર્યા હતા મારી આંખની સામે અને આખા સીરીના રસ્તામાં એનું સર મારી સામે હતું. દિવસો પાસ ના થયા તો પાછો ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam ને હિશામ બોલાવે છે શામ. તો ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam ને 3 દિવસ કેદખાનામાં રાખે છે. એના પછી એના દરબારમાં બોલાવે છે, કોશિશ કરે છે કે ઇમામને જલીલ કરે. ઇમામને પછી પાછો મદીનામાં મોકલાવે છે. લકીને એના ગવર્નરને મદીનામાં કહે છે કે તું એક રસ્તો ગોત કે આ માણસને તું શહીદ કર, આ માણસને તું કતલ કર. તો એના પછી આ ગવર્નર ઇમામ alayhi salam ના ખાવાનામાં, બીજી રિવાયત પ્રમાણે એના પીવામાં, કારણ તો એના ઘોડાના સેવલ ઉપર એ ઝેર નાખે છે ને ઇમામને દે છે. ઇમામ ઈ ખાય છે કારણ તો એ ઘોડા ઉપર બેસે છે. થોડું વખત પસાર નથી થતું તો ઇમામના જિસ્મમાં આ ઝેર બધું વટાઈ જાય છે. ઇમામની બોડીમાં સોજા થાય છે. ઇમામ alayhi salam આ છેલ્લા દિવસો 3 કાઢે છે. એના ઘરે એના ખાટલા ઉપર કાંઈ નથી કરી શકતા ઇમામ. ઓલી રાત આવે છે કે જેમાં ઇમામ al-Baqir alayhi salam શહીદ થયા તો ઇમામ al-Sadiq alayhi salam એના પાસે આવે છે. એને જોઈ છે કે એના બાબા દુઆ કરે છે તો એ ખોબરે છે. એના પછી ઇમામ al-Baqir વસિયતો દે છે ઇમામ al-Sadiq ને. એને કહે છે કે તું મને કફન કરજે, પછી મને દફન કરી દે, મારા કબર ઉપર તું પાણી છાંટજે. પછી એને કહે છે એ અબા અબ્દુલ્લાહ અલ્લાહ અલ્લાહ ફી શિયા ઉસીકા બી અસહાબી ખૈર. એને કહે છે કે એ મારા દીકરા યા અબા અબ્દુલ્લાહ ખુદાના વાસ્તે મારા શિયાની તું ધ્યાન રાખજે. એના પછી એને કહે છે કે હે મારા દીકરા મીનામાં 10 વર્ષ સુધી મારી મજલિસો કરાવજે, તું મજલિસ સાઝા કરાવજે. એના પછી ઇમામ al-Sadiq alayhi salam કહે છે હું મારા બાપા એના ચહેરો જોયો તો ઈટાને એટલું નૂરાની થઈ ગયું હતું. તો એને પૂછા કર્યું એ બાબા શું છે તમારું મોઢું આટલું નૂરાની થઈ ગયું છે આ ટાઈમે? તો એ કહે છે હા મારા બાબા સજ્જાદ alayhi salam મને બકિયાથી બોલાવે છે કે આ પછી એના અહલે બેત અલૈહિસ્સલામ ને બચ્ચાને જોઈ છે કે મારા બચ્ચા ખુદા હાફિઝ, હું તમને ખુદાને સોંપું છું. પછી આપણા ઇમામ શહાદતૈન પર છે અશહદુ અન લા ઇલાહા ઇલ્લલ્લાહ વ અશહદુ અન્ન મુહમ્મદન રસૂલુલ્લાહ. ઇમામની આંખ બંધ થાય છે, એના શ્વાસ બંધ થાય છે અને પાકરું પરવરદિગાર પાસે પશુ વરે છે. ઇમામ સાદિક અલૈહિસ્સલામ ઇમામ અલ-બકીને તૈયાર કરે છે, એને ગુસ્લ કફન દફન કરે છે. હું તમે એક સવાલ પૂછા કરું છું. કહેવાય છે કે ઇમામ અલ-બકીનું મોઢું આવું નૂરાની હતું. ઇમામ હુસૈન અલૈહિસ્સલામના ચહેરાની શું હાલત હતી કરબલામાં. હિલાલ બિન નાફિયા એક માણસ હતો, ઉમર ઇબ્ન સાદની લશ્કરમાં બધા એ લોકો ભેગા થયા હતા. ઇમામ હુસૈન અલૈહિસ્સલામ કરબલાની સરજમીન ઉપર હતા, તો એ લોકો બધા એકબીજાને પૂછ કરતા હતા કે તું હુસૈનને કતલ કર. તો હિલાલ બિન નાફિયા આવે છે, ઇમામનો ચહેરો જોઈ છે તો એ કહે છે એનો મોઢામાં એટલી નૂર જોઈએ એને કતલ ના કરી શક્યો. એમ વાલી હું તમને પૂછા કરું છું کہ امام صادق علیہ السلام غسل کفن دیدہ امام الباقر نے امام حسین نے کون غسل کفن دیدہ કેટલા દિવસ ઇમામ હુસૈન અલૈહિસ્સલામ ની લાશ કરબલામાં પડી હતી અને એના પછી એની કબર ઉપર હું તમને પૂછા કરું છું ઇમામ સજ્જાદ પાસે પાણી હતું કે ઈચ્છા તેની કબર ઉપર. ایک چھلی مصیبت سامبرو شیخ القفامی کے امام صادق نے امام الباقر نصیحت دیدھا کہ ان شیعوں نے دھیان رکھے یہ کہے کہ کربلا ما مقتل حسین نی بعد سکینہ علیہ السلام آوے છે એના બાબાની સર વગરની લાશની બાજુ એને ભેટે છે એ પૂછું કરે છે તો પછી બેહોશ થઈ જાય છે. ખ્વાબમાં જોઈ છે તો એના બાબાને જોઈ છે એને શું કહે છે એ કહે છે મારા શિયાઓને કહે છે મારા શિયા જ્યારે તમે ઠંડુ પાણી પીઓ તો મને યાદ કરજો અને યારે તમે લોકો તન્હા કોઈ તન્હા એકલા ને કંતુ કોઈ શહીદના બારામાં સાંભળો તો મને યાદ કરજો. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم إني أسألك وأدعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم يا الله. اللهم تقبل منا أعمالنا يا الله. اللهم اقضي حوائجنا يا الله. اللهم اشف مرضانا واغفر ذنوبنا يا الله. او الله عجل فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان يا الله واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه ومن المستشهدين بين يدي ماتم حسين.
عزیز و محمد باقر اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس شہنشاہ دو عالم وہ اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس. عزیز و محمد باقر اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس. ملی راحت نہیں دمبر علی کی آہل کو صد ہے کسی کو مارا خنجر سے کسی کو زہر سے مارا. عزیز و محمد باقر اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس. عزیز و محمد باقر اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس. بیایوں جعفر سعدی کا ہے باقر کے لاشے پہ، میرے بابا یہ کیسی نیند میں سوئے عزیز و محا، آخر اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس عزیز و ہزار افسوس، اٹھا تابوت باقر کا مدینے میں ہزار افسوس، پر ہے افسوس کربل میں اٹھا لاشا نہیں شیخ عزیز و محمد باقر، اٹھائے جگ سے ہزار افسوس عزیز و محمد باقر، اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس، دعا کر بس اے ذاکر اب ہوا ہے شوہر ماتم کا، خدایا جلد سے برلا سبھی کی حاجتوں کو اب عزیز و محمد باقر، اٹھے جگ سے ہزار افسوس عزیز۔
اہل عزا اہل وفا باقر کا ماتم کرو، 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 اہل عزا اہل وفا باقر ہم دعا یہ سیدہ، ہم دعا یہ سیدہ باقر کا ماتم کرو، اہل عزا اہل وفا باقر کا ماتم کرو، اہل عزا اہل وفا انا من الحسین سے یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من الحسین سے یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من الحسین سے انا من الحسین سے یہ بات آشکار ہے، سکون قلب مصطفیٰ بطول کا قرار ہے، انا من الحسین سے یہ بات ہے، انا من الحسین سے اے شمر روک لے چھری خدا را روک لے چھری، نبی کے پاک دوش کا حسین شہ سوار ہے، انا من الحسین سے یہ بات ہے، انا من الحسین سے ذرا سی دیر کو ٹھہر میں دیکھ لوں حسین کو، یہ میری گود کا پلا خدا کا افتخار ہے، انا من یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من ہے منتظر حسین کی وہ 4 سال کی کلی پدر کی یاد میں میری سکینہ اشک بار ہے، انا من الحسین سے یہ ہے، انا من الحسین سے نہ زین پر نہ خاک پر بدن میرے غریب کا لہو کی جا نماز پر نماز بے قرار ہے، انا من الحسین یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من الحسین بھائی تیرے ساتھ ساتھ ہوں، سنو اے ماں کی زندگی، حسین گود کو میری تیرا ہی انتظار ہے، انا من الحسین یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من الحسین تڑپ رہا ہے خاک پر بدن تیرا اے گل بدن، وہ دیکھ تیری بہن کا یہ کیسا حال زار ہے، انا من الحسین سے یہ بات آشکار ہے، انا من الحسین سے پکاریا ور حسین حسین کی غریب ماں، تو لا الہ کی بقا جہاں کا تاجدار ہے، انا
من الحسین سے یہ بات آشکار ہے، عشق عزادار چلو کربلا چلے، یہ دل ہے بے قرار چلو کربلا چلے، عشق عزادار چلو کربلا چلے، عشق عزادار چلو کربلا چلے، عشق عباس نامدار کے روزے پہ جائیں گے، جا کر وہاں سکینہ کا لوحہ سنائیں گے، دیکھیں گے وہ دیا چلو کربلا چلے، شیخ چلو کربلا چلے، عشق عزادار چلو کربلا چلے، عشق عزادار کرب و بلا سے شام کا ہے کتنا فاصلہ، کرب و بلا سے شام کا ہے کتنا فاصلہ، بے रसूल ने कैसे किया इतना रास्ता, देखे वो रह गुजार। शेख आज़ादार चलो करबला चले, शेख आज़ादार चलो करबला चले। ओ बस नामदार के रोज़े पे जाएंगे, जाकर वहाँ सकीना का लोहा सुनाएंगे, देखेंगे वो दयाल चलो करबला चले।
के आज़ादार घर करबला चले, ए शेख आज़ादार चलो करबला चले। सूरत मुबारक अल-फातिहा।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। अस्सलामु अलैका या इमाम अल-हुदा, अस्सलामु अलैका या बदर अद-दुजा, अस्सलामु अलैका या कहफ अत-तुक़ा, अस्सलामु अलैका या क़ाइद अहलि अत-तक़वा, السلام عليك يا باقر علم النبيين، السلام عليك يا زين السماوات والأرضين. اللهم كما جعلته علما لعبادك فمستودعا لحلمك ومترجما لوحيك، فصل عليه أفضل ما صليت على أحد من ذرية أنبيائك وأصفيائك ورسلك وأمنائك يا رب العالمين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا عمير المؤمنين سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا مولاتي يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا مولاي يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء، وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب الأسر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.